Have you ever met someone for the very first time and felt an instant, unexplainable connection? That sudden spark, that magnetic pull, as if your brain whispered, "This person is special." It feels almost magical, right? But what if I told you there's a very real psychological explanation behind that immediate attraction? Picture this. You're at a party, casually talking to someone across the room. You catch their gaze, and suddenly, your heart beats a little faster. You notice the way they smile, the tone of their voice, even the subtle gestures they make. Within seconds, your mind starts crafting a story. This person gets me. I want to know them. That, my friend, is the brain in love at first sight, or at least the first sight of chemistry. One of the main drivers behind this instant spark is novelty. Humans are wired to notice what's new, different, or unexpected. Novelty triggers dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, creating a sense of excitement and anticipation. Meeting someone unique, someone who challenges your routine or ignites curiosity, floods your brain with this chemical cocktail. That's why a stranger can feel instantly irresistible. The brain interprets novelty as potential reward, making the encounter feel electric. Visual cues play a surprisingly large role too. Physical symmetry, posture, grooming, and even micro-expressions signal health, confidence, and emotional availability. Your subconscious mind scans these details within seconds, evaluating whether this person is worth your attention. Think of it as an ultra-fast, involuntary checklist. Healthy skin, expressive eyes, open posture. These small cues send massive signals to your brain that this person could be compatible. But it's not just about appearance. That initial spark often comes from chemistry, the invisible energy that flows between two people. Researchers call it interpersonal resonance. It happens when your brain subconsciously synchronizes with another person's tone, energy, and even breathing patterns. Suddenly, a casual conversation feels effortless, intimate, and electric, all in the first few minutes. The combination of novelty, visual cues, and chemistry creates a perfect storm for rapid attraction. Dopamine surges, adrenaline spikes, and oxytocin, the bonding hormone, starts its subtle work. Your heart races, your mind fixates, and every glance or touch feels charged with meaning. Your brain is essentially telling you, this is someone important. Pay attention. It all begins with a glance, a smile, or a tiny spark that makes us feel something is different. But what's even more fascinating is what happens afterward. Why does someone's face keep replaying in our mind? How can a short conversation feel like a magnet pulling us back again and again? The answer lies in the brain. Because the moment we feel attracted, it sets off a chemical fireworks show that's hard to stop. The first player on stage is dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pleasure and reward. The moment attraction kicks in, dopamine floods the system, leaving us euphoric, energized, and able to stay up all night just thinking or talking about that person. It's like the brain keeps pressing the reward button every time they come to mind. Then comes adrenaline, making the heart beat faster, the palms a little colder, and the mind full of anticipation. That's why meeting someone new can feel like a rush. Why something as simple as having coffee together can suddenly feel like a thrilling event. And of course, there's oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and trust. A shared laugh, a light touch, even just holding eye contact a bit longer, all of these trigger oxytocin, creating comfort and a sense of closeness. This is what transforms simple attraction into the beginnings of an emotional bond. Together, dopamine, adrenaline, and oxytocin make it nearly impossible to get someone out of our head. Research even shows that the brain of someone in love lights up in the same areas as the brain of someone addicted to drugs. So if it feels like an addiction, that's because in many ways it actually is. Our brain is wired to focus intensely on one person. Behind all of this lies a deeper purpose. Evolution designed these systems to push us toward prioritizing one partner, forming bonds, and passing on our genes. So while it feels like magic, it's really biology, polished over millions of years. And it's precisely because of this chemical flood that our mind begins to play tricks on us. We start idealizing the other person, magnifying their best qualities, and even turning a blind eye to warning signs that might already be there. Attraction isn't just about hormones and chemistry. Once the brain is drenched in dopamine and oxytocin, another layer begins to shape our experience, our cognitive biases. These are the shortcuts our mind uses to make sense of the world, and in the rush of new love, they don't always tell us the truth. The first bias is idealization. When we fall quickly for someone, we put them on a pedestal without even realizing it. A small act of kindness suddenly looks like proof of deep character. A simple smile feels like evidence of rare warmth. It's not that the other person is flawless, it's that our brain filters out the flaws and amplifies the strengths. We don't see them as they are. We see the version of them our mind wants to believe in. Next comes confirmation bias. Once we start believing someone might be the one, our brain becomes a detective searching only for evidence that supports that belief. If they text us back quickly, it must mean they care. If they share a song we like, it must mean we're perfectly aligned. Any detail that confirms the story we want gets magnified, while anything that contradicts it quietly fades into the background. And then there is projection. Here, the brain goes even further, layering our own hopes and unmet desires onto the other person. We imagine qualities they may not even possess, filling in the blanks with what we wish to see. It's like holding up a mirror and mistaking our reflection for theirs. We don't just see them, we see ourselves, wrapped in our own expectations. What's important to understand is that these biases are not accidents. They are ancient survival strategies. By idealizing, confirming, and projecting, our brain speeds up the process of bonding, ensuring that we attach quickly and deeply. In evolutionary terms, this increased the chances of forming stable partnerships. But in modern life, it often tricks us into believing we've found perfection in someone we barely know. This is why falling in love so quickly feels both magical and dangerous. Because while our heart races and our hormones surge, our mind is quietly rewriting reality. That instant, "this is the one" feeling may not be a clear reflection of truth. It may be a beautiful illusion carefully crafted by our own psychology. Once the spark has ignited, the chemistry has flooded our system, and the mind has started painting its illusions. Something even more powerful begins to take shape: emotional imprinting. Human brains are designed to prioritize emotional experiences over neutral ones. This is why you don't remember every breakfast you've ever eaten, but you can recall with vivid detail the moment you first locked eyes with someone who made your heart race. Our memory system isn't fair, it plays favorites, and emotion is its currency. When you meet someone who makes you feel alive, your brain records that encounter with extraordinary intensity. The amygdala, the brain's emotional command center, tags the moment as significant. It says, "This matters, don't forget it." Then your hippocampus, the region responsible for memory consolidation, stores the sensory details with remarkable clarity. Their laugh, the way their hand moved, the scent of their perfume, even the exact lighting of the room. Suddenly, one encounter feels unforgettable, while countless others fade into the blur of everyday life. This emotional prioritization is not random, it's evolutionary. For our ancestors, recognizing and holding on to powerful social connections increased chances of survival. Falling quickly in love wasn't just romance. It was biology's way of urging you to secure bonds that could lead to reproduction and protection. A single emotional spark could carve pathways in the brain that anchored attachment long before rational thought caught up. That's why so many people describe those first interactions with almost cinematic detail, as if time slowed down. It's not an exaggeration, it's neuroscience. When dopamine and norepinephrine surge together, your brain becomes hyper-focused, treating the moment like a scene worth saving. This is why replaying that initial meeting in your head feels effortless. The memory doesn't just exist, it's stamped, magnified, and woven into your sense of self. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The emotional intensity you feel doesn't just shape how you remember the moment, it shapes how you interpret everything that follows. If your brain has already imprinted this person as special, every smile, every text, every glance feels amplified. Neutral gestures become loaded with meaning. Silence feels like absence. Small kindnesses feel like proof. The imprint creates a lens through which you see the entire connection. This is why we can fall so quickly and so deeply, sometimes even against our better judgment. Our memories betray us, not by lying, but by emphasizing certain details until they overshadow everything else. What we think of as destiny may simply be the brain's way of magnifying emotional intensity into permanence. Once the imprint is made, it becomes very hard to ignore. The person is not just someone you met. They are someone your brain has tagged as unforgettable. And this is where love begins to feel less like a choice and more like inevitability. The emotional imprint is not just a memory, it's a blueprint that tells your body and mind, pay attention. This could be the one. Every spark we feel in the present is filtered through the echoes of our past. The way we attach, the speed with which we fall, and the depth of our longing are not random. They're shaped by the relationships that came before. Psychology calls this attachment style, and it acts like an invisible script running beneath every interaction. For those with an anxious attachment, new love can feel like oxygen after deprivation. The intensity is overwhelming, the need for closeness immediate, because their nervous system is always scanning for signs of rejection. On the other hand, avoidant individuals may also fall quickly, but in a different way. Their initial intensity often masks a deeper fear of vulnerability, a push and pull between desire and distance that makes early attraction burn hot, but fade unevenly. This is why some connections feel almost too powerful to resist. They aren't just about who's in front of you, they're about old patterns replaying themselves in a new face. Past heartbreak, unmet needs, and early bonds all conspire to shape how fast we fall and how much it consumes us. When we recognize this, we realize that rapid love isn't only about chemistry or bias. It's also about the unfinished stories we carry within us. One of the most powerful tricks of rapid love is how it distorts time. You meet someone new, yet it feels like you've known them for years. This happens because intense emotions compress experience. Dopamine and oxytocin make a single night of connection feel as rich as months together. When two people mirror each other's emotions, laugh at the same things, and share personal details quickly, the brain confuses this synchronicity with deep familiarity. It's an illusion, but a seductive one. We mistake emotional speed for emotional depth, which is why falling fast can feel both overwhelming and unforgettable. Rapid love can feel like a whirlwind, bending time, magnifying emotions, and making a stranger seem like destiny. But recognizing the psychology behind it gives us balance. The spark, the chemistry, the biases, and even the illusion of time are real experiences, but they don't always mean permanence. The healthiest approach is to enjoy the intensity without losing sight of reality. Let the feelings inspire you, but give the connection space to grow at its own pace. Falling fast isn't wrong, it's human. The key is to let passion and patience walk together, so love can transform from an instant spark into something that truly lasts.